Okay, here we are then. Evening everyone, hope you're all well. So for anybody that's new to these sessions, my name's Rich. I'm the head coach and founder of Riak Fitness. We're a coaching outfit specialising in tailored plans and bespoke coaching relationships. We also have a range of on-demand sessions, so if you enjoy things like tonight, there's a whole library on our website of similar stuff. And we also run some other free sessions. You'll see above me various adverts, and they also indicate the other free live sessions we have. We have the Monday assembly, Tuesday S&C workshop, and then tonight's structured workout, which I'll start by talking you through once we get going in 5 seconds. So let's get ready, guys. We start out nice and easy as always. Here we go then. Right, well, welcome to week 6 of this discovery series. So anyone new to these sessions, basically each week, each session is designed to kind of illuminate something about you as a rider. Okay, so we've had time trial focus sessions, we've had hill rep sessions so far, we've had speed endurance sessions. Now this session we're focused on big numbers. Okay, so I think the way to characterize this set is there's a lot of recovery. Okay, you've actually only got 5 very short efforts, but we want some big numbers. Okay, I really like sessions like this because they're an opportunity to kind of feel, just strong and really give it the beans without having to worry too much about, am I going to be able to finish the session? Because there's not many reps. You should be able to get through this set absolutely fine. It's more about how big can I go with my numbers. Okay, so we're focusing on our 1 minute and 20-second power. I'll be talking all about those, but they basically pertain to our different anaerobic energy systems. Again, I'll be talking about that in some depth over the course of the session. But just a quick reminder, guys, these sessions are intended to be, to a certain extent, interactive. I understand that very often these sessions are pretty intense, so it's not an easy thing to sort of chat away and ask questions. If you really want to get into stuff in depth, we always recommend coming to our Monday evening session, even if you just use it as a recovery ride. But in that session, we really go into topics in detail. So that's our Monday evening session. Always very welcome to bring your training questions. Should have a bit of opportunity to chat tonight. So if you have questions at any point, guys, do remember for the guys that are on Zoom, you've got the Zoom chat feed, or you're very welcome to unmute yourself and ask away. That's often the easiest way of doing it. And then we also have got our socials all linked up on the live stream. So if anyone's following this on one of the various social channels, you can actually write your questions in the comments. And I should, if I've done it properly, be able to pick up those comments as we go. Okay, so various ways you can ask questions: on social media by commenting on the live stream, on Zoom by unmuting yourself and asking away, or using the Zoom chat. But for now, guys, just relax. I'm going to talk you through tonight's session. Just reminded as I'm talking about the various ways that you can ask questions, I hadn't got either the Zoom or the socials chat. What do you call it? Box up. Anyway, right, so let's talk about the session. So tonight, guys, we're starting off with the typical warm-up. The blocks are slightly extended. Normally we do sort of 2-minute steps. They're 3-minute steps tonight. Got a nice long warm-up. Okay, but each step we're increasing the power by about 6 to 10 watts. So it should be pretty manageable. All of it in zone 2. So we should be pretty relaxed. Running at around a 3 out of 10 for right now. 10 being a full-on sprint, which is where we're going to be in this session during those spikes. So if we just work our way past the warm-up, those initial 3 spikes, they're actually past pedaling efforts, okay? So they're still part of the warm-up, guys. They're high-powered efforts, but they're very short, and they're just about getting your legs going, okay? So don't worry about those. We're going to stay in erg mode for those. It's once we get past those 3 fast pedaling efforts that we're going to turn erg mode off, okay? Now, for anyone that's not familiar, erg mode is a setting on smart trainers and smart bikes that basically how do I put this? It determines that the flywheel of the trainer, the source of the resistance, will want to spin at a particular velocity, so it enables you to put out a very specific power consistently. As long as you're spinning up, your leg speed is at a certain cadence and you're putting out a certain amount of power. So it means you can basically hit and hold a certain amount of power, and it's a really good conditioning tool. However, it's not always appropriate. And a session like this, where we're looking to hit some big numbers to kind of go beyond ourselves, we want to have erg mode off. Not yet, after the warm-up, okay? Because we don't want erg mode, we don't want these arbitrary targets that I've set to limit us. We want to see where we can get to, okay? So if you're interested in erg mode, guys, it's a term you've heard bandied around. There is an article that I've written on it. It's not, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not a thriller, but it is very illuminating on what erg mode is and when it's appropriate to use it and when it's appropriate not to use it. You can find that article. I'll try to sex it up a little bit by giving it an interesting name. It's called To Erg or Not to Erg, and you can find that article on our website, or it's on the RGT website as well, in their blog posts area. But yeah, that explains what erg mode is. But for tonight, guys, we're going to turn it off after the warm-up, and it's a quick reminder how to do that. You go to the sensors menu in RGT, and top right hand corner is an erg tab, and you're just going to be turning that off in, where are we? Worry about just under 10 minutes time. Okay, so don't need to mess around with it now. You can just relax. So, what we doing tonight? What we trying to learn about ourselves? Well, I need to ease off a little bit. I've got a bit carried away. I'm meant to be riding about 150 watts in this, and I was riding easily at about 200. So what we're trying to find out about ourselves today is how well developed our anaerobic energy systems are. Now, I'm not going to go into all the depth about the training zones, the energy systems, because that is a really in-depth topic that we covered on more than a couple of occasions. But I will just give a very quick summary of what we're looking at for this session. So we're looking at your 1 minute power, which is illustrative of your anaerobic capacity. Okay, so your anaerobic capacity, guys, if you use your training zones, it's zone 6. And what it really stands for is the total amount of work you can do in an anaerobic state. Okay, so basically how that translates is those 1 minute efforts in the middle, they're just full gas efforts, no pacing, all full guns blazing, okay? And it's not necessarily intended that you can hold power for the full minute. It's just as hard as you can go, and you will see drop off. But one of the things that we're looking at is how quick that drop off is and how dramatic. Okay, so anaerobic capacity, it's using what's called your lactic acid system. So lactic acid is often thought to be a waste product. It's not. It's actually a source of energy, source of anaerobic energy production. All right, and it's used for efforts that are sort of over 30 seconds towards, 30 seconds towards 1-2 minutes. All right. So that's what the system that we're going to be utilizing there. And we want to see how well developed it is, how responsive it is, and how good we are at short duration efforts. All right. So that's what those three in the middle are about. And then at the end, those really short, sharp spikes, they're 20-second sprints. Now what we're doing there is using what's called our phosphocreatine system. It's another anaerobic form of energy production, and it's basically what powerlifters, sprinters use. Okay, so again, 20 seconds, just full gas, everything you got, and we're looking for basically your max possible power. Okay, and that, if you're into your training zones, would be zone 7. So in terms of power numbers, don't worry guys if any of this is just completely over your head. It's really not a big deal. I'll be covering it in a little bit more depth and hopefully clarifying anything. But in terms of power numbers, what we're looking at is for the 1 minute efforts, you're probably talking something above about 120% of FTP for the full minute. Now for the 20-second efforts, could be anything, but you're probably talking upwards of 150% of FTP, depending on kind of how good a sprinter you are. And that really is kind of what this session is about. It's working out how good you are at the anaerobic stuff, at the sprints. And don't worry if you don't do much of this, okay? You don't necessarily expect miracles, but it's just to get an idea. Because in terms of one way of determining how good you are as a rider, or sorry, how well balanced you are, is tracking what's called your peak powers, or also known as your critical powers. Okay, and these are basically the max power that you can put out over different durations. So the obvious one is your FTP. Okay, so that's a critical power, that's a peak power. We work that out often by using our 20-minute peak power. Okay, so that's the max power you can put out over 20 minutes, and then we run a very simple formula over it to then extrapolate out as to what we reckon you could do for 60 minutes. Okay, so your FTP, hopefully I'm not confusing anyone here, but your FTP is actually meant to symbolize the power that you could hold for 60 minutes. That's why we take the 20-minute average, times it by 0.95, and it gives you your FTP. Hopefully you guys are still with me and I haven't kind of jigged around things too much. But at 20-minute power, that's a really good example of one that we all know and love. Okay, other peak powers, you're talking about 5 minutes, which is illustrative of how well developed your VO2 max is. Then we've got these 1 minute powers that we're doing tonight, and these 20-second powers that we're doing tonight. You also look at your your 1 minute powers and your 20-second powers that we're doing tonight, and within that, you want to look at your 5-second power within the 20-second efforts. Okay, I'm going to run. I think I confused myself there, so I'm going to run through that again, hopefully in a more succinct and straightforward way. So, what I was saying was, one way that you can track how well developed you are as a rider is looking at your peak powers, your critical powers. Okay, and those are typically your 20-minute power, 5-minute power, 1 minute power, 20-second power, and 5-second power. Okay, so you've got those 5 durations that you can track. And what we're looking at this evening is 3 of those critical powers: the 1 minute, 20-second, and 5-second. Okay, so the anaerobic stuff. Hopefully that all makes sense. The stuff in my head when I'm formulating it always seems simple, and then it comes out my mouth, and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, need to make that one more simple. Anyway, guys, so coming back to what we're up to, we're now up to the top step of the warm-up. Got about 1.5 minutes left of that, so we should be riding at about a 4 out of 10. So let's start to focus on what we've got coming our way. So let's pick up the leg speed. Let's make sure we're above about 85 RPM on the cadence. Hopefully my cadence sensor isn't working again tonight. Always helpful. Otherwise, you could use my leg speed and track that to try and inform your own. Anyway, so we've got about 60 seconds till we hit that first fast pedaling effort. Now remember, these are just part of the warm-up. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Just block them. Oh dear. We open up the live stream chat to people, and then that's what we get. Anyway, let's ignore. It's quite funny actually. Right, just coming up to 10 seconds to go until we hit that fast pedaling effort. For those of you guys on Zoom, you can't see this, but on we've opened up the chat feed, and someone's posting links to what should we say, naughty content. Wonderful. Okay, here we go. First fast pedaling effort. You just gotta laugh at this stuff. I'm just gonna take that down, I think. Let's hide that, shall we? There we go. Anywho, so first fast pedaling effort. Spinning up those legs, getting that cadence above 100 RPM at least. Waking those legs up. We've got some really high powered stuff to do in this session, guys. So really get those legs going. That's the first one down. And you can relax now. We've got 2 more of those to go. We've then got a long cruising period between, where you can kind of catch your breath and get ready. So don't stress about getting knackered out by these fast pedaling efforts. There's plenty of time to regather yourself. So keep the fluids coming on board as we warm up, guys. It's about 15 seconds and then we hit round 2 of the fast pedaling efforts. So this time, let's look to try and hit a cadence of about 110 RPM. Okay, let's really get them going. Come on, let's spin up now. Power's coming on. Let's really lift that leg speed. Looking to hit about 110 RPM by the end. Last 15 seconds. Couple seconds left. And relax. Okay, so that's round 2 down. We've got 1 more. Then we've got a nice cruising section. Before we hit the first of those 1-minute efforts. So plenty of time, guys. As I said right at the start, there's not many kind of hard intervals in tonight's session, plenty of recovery in between them. Our goal isn't really to kind of knacker you out in between the efforts or with the efforts, really. This is more about having really good, strong, high quality efforts. It's not the case that even with your structured training, your high intensity training, that it has to be really hard or knacker you out every session. It's not about that. I'll talk a bit more about that once we got through this final fast pedaling effort. So just a few seconds till we kick off for the last time. On this final one, let's try and get up to around 120 RPM. Really get it going. Here we go. So soften the arms, soften the elbows, draw the shoulders away from the ears. Keep that bum planted on the saddle as we spin up to around 120 RPM. Really get those legs going, guys. Last opportunity to fire up those fast twitch muscle fibers. Keep it going, keep it going. 5 seconds. Okay, and relax. Good, good. Excellent stuff. Now we're cruise mode. So just relax. Just relax. Got plenty of time at this level. So we're back down into zone 2 if you use your training zones. Back down to around 65% of FTP. So you've got plenty of time to chill out. We want to ride with good form. Keep your leg speed upwards of about 85 RPM throughout this cruising section. Don't want to relax too much, because otherwise we'll get to that first 1 minute effort and we'll be all sluggish. It is quite common, guys, actually, in sessions like this, particularly if you're very fit, that if you have too much recovery, you almost get cafe legs, and it's then hard to go again. So it's a bit of a balancing act. Obviously, we've kind of erred on the side of caution, giving tons of, sorry, that's not fair, quite a lot of recovery in between each effort to try and make sure everyone's fresh when they hit the next one. But when you're doing this type of effort in your own plan or in your own time, you kind of do have to go off instinct as to when you're ready to go again. Some days you're going to need more recovery than others, but this is the type of session where it's a very good idea. You do actually want to do a bit of freestyling. You want to kind of go off your instincts as to when you're ready to go again. So as I say, sometimes you can actually have too much recovery, which I know sounds like blasphemy to some of you, but it is true. Okay, so where are we at? We've got about just over 4 minutes till we hit that first 1 minute effort. So I really recommend, guys, giving yourself plenty of time out of erg mode to get adjusted. So let's think about turning that off. So reminder how to do that. If you're on a smart trainer or a smart bike, you want to go to the sensors menu in RGT, and then top right hand corner there's an erg tab. You want to turn that off, and then just wait 15-20 seconds. It can take a little while to disengage, but then eventually what's going to happen is your trainer or your smart bike is going to start to simulate the course. All right, this session that we're on now, we're on a pan flat course. This is Herne Hill Velodrome, okay, the magic road of. All right, so it's pan flat. You won't need to mess around with your gearing too much, but let's get erg mode off. Let's get it into the right gear. Give yourself a bit of time. Don't worry, guys. So this is going to be a session where you're going to get reds, greens, whatever. Do not worry about it. Just do your best. In the 1 minute efforts, we're not actually looking to hit the target. Okay, we've got arbitrary targets in there. It's just as hard as you can go for 60 seconds. Okay, so ignore the targets. I know that sounds stupid. The targets are there just to kind of give you a rough idea of the type of power that you should be putting out in relation to your FTP. But really, it's just as hard as you can go for 60 seconds. For now though, we want to do our best to try and hit the 65% of FTP target and keeping our leg speed up above about 85 RPM. So get that erg mode off, get into the right gear, and let's cruise for a little bit. So you might be thinking, if you're a pure kind of endurance athlete, or you don't do any racing, or perhaps you're not particularly experienced when it comes to structured training, you might be wondering, why the hell am I doing 1 minute sprints and 20-second sprints? Because if you want to be a balanced rider, guys, you have to train these anaerobic systems as well. Being an endurance athlete, so say you're an Ironman athlete, or you do super long grand fondos or really long gravel rides, even so, you still want to do some anaerobic work. It just means you do less of it, or much less of it, than somebody who's like a crit racer or an e-racer. Okay, you still want to do some, you just approach it in a different way. So you wouldn't do sessions like this super regularly, but you would pepper your plan, or you pepper other sessions with efforts like this. Okay, so there are a million different ways of nuancing it, but everybody wants to be doing some sort of anaerobic work, because ultimately, if you're a regular and you came to our chat about FTP, what goes into your functional threshold power, this is working on the strength element. Okay, the really high, the strength element of your FTP, and then the other element is your aerobic endurance. So we're working on that strength stuff, and doing this really high power stuff is going to help pull that FTP up. Okay, because you're just going to be stronger. If you can put more power through the pedals, you know, that FTP is going to be dragged up. So let's think about that when we're doing these efforts. Okay, this is all about building strength. We've not got long, so we should be out of erg mode, and we should be getting ready to drop that gear. We've only got about 10 seconds. So let's pick up the leg speed. We don't want a low leg speed when we drop that gear. Let's get ready for it, guys. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Let's go then, guys. 60 seconds, full gas, no erg mode, no targets, just go for it. Oh, that's fantastic. Yes, see some really good stuff going on RGT. Come on, guys, push it, push it. Keep going, keep going. You don't really need to pace yourself, just hold on. Just keep going as hard as you can. You're halfway through, 30 seconds to go. Push it, push it. Coming up to the last 15 seconds. Let's throw in that finishing sprint. Come on. Pick it up, let's go. Last 10 seconds. Go, 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 go. Right, a few seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, 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 good. Relax. Well done. Well done. Keep the legs turning over. Try not to allow the trainer to pause. You don't want to fall out of sync of the workout. Just relax, guys. Don't stress too much about hitting the power target on the recovery. Just get your breath back, keep the legs turning over. And once you've gathered yourself, then you can start to pick the power up a little bit and the leg speed a touch as well. Really well done. Saw some, well, the avatars at least, going absolutely nuts on RGT. Love that. Okay, so that's round 1, guys. We've got plenty of recovery, still got over 4 minutes of sweet, sweet low intensity. So the idea is really, you might be carrying a little bit of fatigue into the next 2 efforts, but really the hope is that there's enough recovery for you to kind of go again and produce a similar effort. And what you might find actually is on the second one, you might do a touch better because you've got your gearing right, you're a bit warmed up, you've kind of had a sighter effort. So I'm not promising anything, but is there a chance your second effort might be even better? So let's keep that motivation. We're looking for max power basically, guys. Over 60 seconds, utilizing that lactic acid system. Okay, even if you're not an e-racer or crit racer or like a short course triathlete, this stuff is still important. Particularly if you're in the UK, let's face it, every hill in this country is a beast. Usually short and sharp, about a K max, 3Ks absolute max, and it's just, particularly if you're racing, that is a short anaerobic, or if it's a long one, VO2 effort. So, you know, particularly in the UK, we need this type of power. You know, this is should be our bread and butter when it comes to racing, really. Which is odd because I'm crap at this stuff. The sprinting, the 20-second effort, I've got good sprint on me, but 1 minute power is a bit of a black spot for me. It's something I'm working on a lot at the moment, and actually starting to enjoy it. But in terms of my capabilities, yeah, bit of a black spot. And it just means that my lactic acid system is not as well developed, or has not been as well utilized as, you know, my sprint power or my endurance related power, which makes sense. Come from a team sports background, and I'm a long course triathlete, so I've got that sprint from playing team sports, and I've got that endurance from the long course triathlon. And historically I've not done much of this type of work, so if you're from a similar background, don't stress if this isn't kind of really your cup of tea. Yeah, Yes, of course, mate. Yeah, good question. Just so for the benefit of the live stream, the question was for these sort of sprint efforts, are you in the saddle or out of the saddle? So my advice, guys, for the 60-second efforts, that's generally speaking, I would say, a seated effort. You know, you might get out the saddle like 5 pedal strokes and then sit down and sort of, well, not relax into it, 'cause it's not relaxing the slightest, but kind of get settled. For the 20-second efforts, I'd probably say something similar, to be honest, like, you know, 5 pedal strokes out the saddle and then sit down. And the primary reason for that is because these turbo trainers, I'm on a Wahoo kicker, I have seen people go over, okay? They're not super stable. The smart bikes might be better, but yeah, it does mean you might not be able to produce as much power as you can out on the road, and that's simply because you can't lever the bike, you can't wrestle the bike on it as much on a turbo trainer, and you probably want to limit that anyway. Right, so let's get out the saddle for 5 pedal strokes to get it started. Ready? Here we go. So out the saddle, just get it going. Then we sit down, we're into that big gear, really nice high leg speed. Everything you got, guys, come on. Keep driving, keep driving. That's 20 seconds down. Okay, halfway, let's lift it, come on, come on, come on. Okay, we're into the final 20 seconds, come on, let's lift it again. Finishing sprint coming up. Last 10 seconds, push, 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 all the way to the end. Come on, guys, you can do this. 2, 1, good, and relax. Really well done, everyone. Just chill out, get your breath back. Excellent stuff. So that's 2 down. 1 more of these horrible 60-second efforts, and I tell you, those 20-second sprints at the end will absolutely fly by. They'll feel like nothing in comparison. And for one main reason, really, you're going to be using a different energy system. Okay? For now, though, guys, just relax, gather yourself, and once you kind of got yourself back together, start to pick up your power up to the recovery target and get your leg speed back above 80 RPM. If you're pedaling nice and efficiently, it will help with the recovery process. So don't be suckered into trawling along at 50-60 RPM, because you will actually be putting out more power per pedal stroke in order to hit that power target, and really we want to be spinning up a little bit. So well done, guys, that's 2 out of 3 done. So as I was saying before, the second effort, even if you're a pure endurance athlete, you do still want to do a certain amount of anaerobic work. How much you do just depends on your focus, and that's where a good coach comes in hand. You thought you gotten away lightly with the plugs. We're always selling, guys. Always on the payroll. Question we often get when we do these types of sessions is, I was talking earlier about tracking your peak powers or your critical powers. How do you track that stuff? Well, you can keep a spreadsheet, look back at what you've done from this session. Really, these days, the easiest way is to use some sort of training platform, training management platform. So with our athletes, we use Training Peaks. There's a free one called Golden Cheetah, which I know a few of the guys that come to these sessions use that. Only downside of Golden Cheetah is it's quite manual. You have to manually download and then upload your data, etc. But otherwise, it's a fantastic piece of software. As I say, we use Training Peaks, and that kind of helps. That just helps you track it. And yeah, you can. It's one of you tracking your peak powers, your critical powers, is a really good motivating factor. So I use myself as an example with my absence of 1 minute power. Doing work on it, on that area, and watching my peak power grow, my critical power at 1 minute grow. That's a really motivating thing to see, you know, and it gives you confidence, and it makes you want to keep on doing it. So that's a really key reason why it's important to track your critical powers, but also just trying to be as balanced as possible. So trying to, as best you can, make sure each of those key powers are proportionally in line with one another. You will have a genetic, what's called a phenotype. You will have a genetic kind of characteristic which lends you to one end of the spectrum or the other. So, you know, that will always kind of guide where your strengths lie. But, you know, you always want to work on your weaknesses. And as I say, even if you're a time trialist or long course triathlete, working on this high-end power stuff, that's all going to contribute to dragging that FTP up. Okay, so let's think about that as we approach the third and final 60-second effort. Let's really go for it, this one. Okay, this is where it might start to bite. So this is where you've got to drag out that angry power, that real turning yourself inside out power. Okay, so big it up in your mind. Let's get motivated. Let's get ready to go. Okay, we're going to hit this like a freight train. Just about, well, we've got 30 seconds until we drop the hammer. So start using all the sort of aggressive terminology that I just suddenly started turning on. Okay, get yourself going. Let's get ready to do this. Ready, 10 seconds. Here we go, come on guys. Ready, 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 ready. And let's go, come on, out the saddle, five pedal strokes, sitting down. And let's just drive our way through it. No pacing, just everything you got. Go on guys, go on guys. Push it. 20 seconds down. Okay, you're halfway, lift it. Lift that power if you can. Last 20 seconds. Coming up to the final sprint. So last 10 seconds. Empty tank, come on, push. You've got tons of time after this to recover, so don't hold back. Last few seconds. Yes. Excellent. Well done. So relax now. Same drill as before. Gather yourself. Then start to pick the power back up. So guys, we've now got another 5-minute recovery sector before we're then just going to lift it again up to zone 2, up to around 65% of FTP. So all in all, you've got about 10 minutes of cruising time. So get the fluids back on board, steadily bring your power back up to target, leave erg mode off. It really doesn't matter whether the intervals are going red or green. Okay, this is all about just going hell for leather on those 60-second and now the 20-second efforts. Okay, so we're done with the lactic acid system. We're done with zone 6 efforts. We're now shifting up to what's called your neuromuscular power. Basically that translates to max power. Okay, what is the maximum possible power you can put out? And this is always an interesting one. because it's a very blunt, kind of obvious thing, you know, why that's important. The stronger you are, the greater the power you can put out. Okay, so very simple. Using that phosphocreatine system, which is good for only a very short amount of time. As I said earlier, it's where your power lifters and your sprinters, it's where they earn their money. Okay, so we've just got those 3 sprints to go, and hopefully now you've gotten through those 60-second efforts. Yeah, they're brutal, they're horrible, but hopefully you're starting to see now this isn't meant to be like a really kind of world-ending session. It's tough, don't get me wrong. There's nothing easy about doing 3 60-second efforts and then 3 20-second sprints. There's nothing easy about that. But one of the points I'm trying to get across with a session like this is that when you're doing a structured workout, your high-intensity training, not every session has to take you to the limit and back in terms of your capacity, in terms of your endurance. Okay? So we often do sets like this as part of a longer, well, maybe not that long, much longer endurance ride. Okay? Particularly for some of our guys that are getting close to competition. We don't necessarily want to smash them to pieces, but we might still want to work on this sort of stuff. And so we'll just pepper a steady state endurance ride with a few intervals, because they'll be really high quality and they'll still be contributing to the building of muscle mass and the building of strength. Okay, so just, you know, don't be afraid to throw in an easier session. It's not an easier session, it's just got a different focus, and that focus isn't turning you inside out and making you have to kind of question your place in this world at the end of the session. You shouldn't have to have an existential crisis at the end of every high intensity session, guys, okay? This is often also when people say, we talked on previous sessions about structuring training and what to do if you're kind of, you know, feeling a bit tired or you've not got as much time, and sometimes you just don't have the emotional energy to do sort of a really brutal session. You don't have to. I think this is one of the things that we're really keen to do, is help give athletes the confidence to nuance their own sessions and just alter them in line with what they perhaps do have. Because there's nothing worse than trying to do a really, really tough session when you're just not in the right emotional state. You've had a long day at work, someone's been a bit of a knob at work or whatever, and you're not in a good mood, and you don't want to have to smash yourself to pieces on the turbo as well. And it's okay to give yourself permission to change your session. So if you say you've got in the speed endurance session where you've got 5, 6, 7 of those 60-second intervals, you can change it to a session like this. They're still really high quality, but the emphasis has changed from speed endurance to peak power. Okay, so we're just picked it up now, back up to zone 2. So we should be working at about 4 out of 10 effort. So making sure that leg speed again is upwards of about 85 RPM, and we're just cruising, running nice and comfortably. Got around 4.5 minutes until we get to the sprint, so hopefully we're starting to feel human again, to a certain extent anyway. So just finishing off that point I was making, yeah, if you don't have the emotional energy to do like a speed endurance session where you're doing lots of high powered reps, change the emphasis, change it to quality rather than quantity. There's a very valid goal, and trying to hunt some new critical powers, some new PBs. Okay, so I just want to make sure you guys understand that that's perfectly legit and you can do that in your own training. So now guys, we've got just under 4 minutes of cruise time. Make sure you're getting the fluids on board and just riding nice and controlled. Okay, these 3 20-second sprints. We're going to use that phosphocreatine system, that zone 7 power, looking for an effort upwards of about 150% of FTP. But as I say, ignore the targets, there's not enough time to think about it. It's only 20 seconds. So just go full guns blazing. You then got, how long's the recovery? 3 minutes, I think. Let me just double check. Yeah, 3 minutes of recovery in between, which is plenty of time. Okay. And then just these last 3 efforts, and then your session's done. Yeah, well, hopefully everything I covered this evening, guys, has been vaguely intelligible. Remember, if you do have any questions, I've turned the live stream chat off because I don't really want to know where to get the stuff that they were trying to sell us. But if you're on Zoom, do feel free to use the chat if you got anything you wanna ask. Otherwise, do just relax. I will switch on the chat again as we build to that last block of efforts. So we've done the 60-second efforts. If you are an e-racer or a crit racer of some description, or road racer, I don't think you really need me to describe the types of scenarios where that 1 minute power is useful. You're probably well acquainted by now. But those 60-second efforts, they're the sort of thing that you have to do, particularly in e-racing when you've got those short little climbs or little lips. You always get them in the sort of short kind of crit races. They start off feeling really manageable at the beginning of the race, and then when you're on like your 20th lap, they feel like mountains. You're having to try and stay with the bunch or break away. So we're very acquainted with that. And then these final sprints, these are the sort of power that you want to put down at the end of the race and that finishing sprint. And that's why we put them at the end, guys, because we want your legs to be a little bit tired, but still hopefully able to do some good work. But it's going to be relatively illustrative, hopefully, of the type of work that you can put out, type of power you can put out in the sprint. So let's get building now, guys. Okay, pick up the leg speed, get it up above 90 RPM. We want to drop that gear when we've got a nice high leg speed. Let's get ready, come on. A few seconds till we go. 20-second all-out effort in 2, 1, here we go. Come on, guys. Everything you got now. 5 pedal strokes out of the saddle, then sit yourself down and just drill it. Come on, halfway already. Last 10 seconds, lift it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, excellent stuff. Saw some really big numbers there on the leaderboard of an RGT. Really well done, guys. You got 3 minutes of recovery, so just grab your breath, get your breath back, spin out the legs. Don't worry too much about the recovery target for now. Just do what you need to do to get your breath back, and then once you're settled again, start to pick up the power, start to pick up the leg speed. It will help you recover. So well done, guys. That's 1 down, 2 to go. Really would recommend having a look. This is a perfect example of a session. Well, to be honest, all of these Discovery Series sessions are examples of sessions where you want to go back and have a look at your power after the session. You know, that's why we're doing them. They're kind of each one is basically a little kind of fitness assessment without trying to scare people too much with that terminology. But these are all sessions. You want to have a look at the data. If you're not super confident looking at your numbers, don't worry about it. I'm not particularly data driven as a coach. I much prefer the kind of the personal side of the job. Whereas one of our affiliate coaches that I always mention when in this sort of chat, Matt, he's an engineer by trade, and he's much more adept at working with the numbers. But guys, just have a look, track this stuff. It might not tell you a story to begin with, but if you're tracking it over time and just keeping abreast of it, it will, over time, start to show you some patterns, hopefully positive ones. Okay, so don't get stressed if you're looking at Training Peaks or Strava or whatever after the session and you're like, well, I don't know what to do. Don't worry about it. Just look at the numbers for each of the intervals and just note where they are. And then if you do this session again, hopefully you'll see improvement. It can be that simple, guys. We don't have to pour over the data every time. I do find that it is, I do find sometimes when I talk to athletes, when they first start working with a coach, they expect to kind of every single session for us to kind of pour over the data. But really, what we're looking for is patterns over the long term, whilst keeping a track of the individual sessions. Okay, so let's get ready for round 2 then. Picking up the leg speed, getting ready to drop that big gear again. Few seconds, get ready for it, guys, get ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go, come on then. Push, 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 push. Halfway, 10 seconds to go. Drive it all the way to the end, all the way to the line. 3, 2, 1. Good. Good, guys, okay. You come to the end game. Just relax. Got one last effort left. And then you're done. Really well done, guys. One last effort. That must sound sweet. So if you're new to these sessions, do not worry. Not every single session is a sprint session. I'll tell you what we're up to next week after this final effort. But as I say, the point of this discovery series is that each week you're learning something new about yourself. This week we just happen to be doing high-powered stuff. And we've got 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes, till we hit the last one of those high-powered efforts. So well done, guys. I think this is definitely an example of a session where it's best to do it with others, best to do it with a bit of encouragement from someone like myself. Definitely helps to kind of eke a couple of extra watts out. So here we are then, coming up to the final effort of the session. So let's start to pick up that leg speed. About 25 seconds till we hit it. It's the last one. Come on. Let's see if we can reverse the rotation on this one. Let's go big. Let's empty the tank. Don't leave anything left. This is the final effort. Get ready, guys. Come on. Pick up the leg speed. Pick it up. Let's go. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's hit it. Come on. Last time through. Everything you've got now. I've been preemptive there, haven't I? Sorry, guys. 1 minute. Sorry, guys. I don't know quite what happened there. I think that might have just been me being an idiot. Yep, just me being an idiot. Get a bit too carried away. Okay, now we have 20 seconds. This is what happens when I take my glasses off. Okay. Alright, it's all just going to fall on deaf ears now when I try and get you going. I'll do my best. Come on, guys. 10 seconds. Let's build it up. One final time. 3, 2, 1. Definitely let's go this time. Okay, come on. Give it everything you got. Halfway. Last few seconds. 3, 2, 1. And relax. Definitely the last one that time, I promise you. Not the strongest showing from me tonight, is it? Okay, guys. We'll just chill out now into your cool down. So just spin up the legs. Always a really good idea to take a cool down at the end of a session. Just give yourself a moment of calm, particularly after a sprint session like that, where it's high stress. Just want to take a bit of time to relax before you start rushing around doing something else. Make sure you have a good old stretch after a session like this. Also so a nice high protein meal as well. Repair some of that muscle damage we would have done. Okay. If you need a stretch routine, remember there is a couple of routines on the Riak website or on our social media. Go to the know how section. I think the same routines are also in the training articles section for some reason as well. But get yourself into a nice routine of stretching after sessions. If anyone wants to know more about the training zones, the different energy systems, there is also a video in the training articles section, I think, which covers the different training zones and how they interrelate with the energy systems. You can find that on the Riak website as well. So lots of homework there if you want it, and all very free. Now, guys, you're probably not interested in anything else other than getting off a bike, hopefully having a stretch and getting something to eat. Really good work in the session, guys. Saw some absolutely fantastic numbers coming up on the leaderboard. Really well done. So last 60, just spinning up the legs. At least I think it's 60, who knows anymore. Apparently I can't see. So just relax. So next week we are off to the land of VO2 max efforts. We're testing both ends of the spectrum with some an 8-minute VO2 max effort at the lower end of the VO2 range, and then some 2-minute efforts at the higher power end of the range. More on that next week, but that's always a really good session and much more of the type of session where you're having to really dig deep. So that's a great session. We'll talk more about VO2 max, etc. in that session. But well done for this one, guys. Have a look at your data afterwards. Hopefully you can then start to keep track of it if you're not already. As I say, over time you'll start to see some patterns. But that's the end of your workout, guys. I'll stick around if anyone's got any questions. Otherwise, thanks very much for your company, and I hope you enjoyed that and got plenty out of it. No worries, guys. Cheers for your company. If anyone's got any questions, as I say, no worries. Cheers, Raphael. Good to see you, mate. Yeah, you too, mate. Cheers, Keith. Thanks, guys. All right, then. Good evening to everybody on the stream. Thanks for your company.